Hello and welcome to From the Rabbi's Bookshelves. I'm Rabbi Elton, the Rabbi of the Great Synagogue in Sydney, and my volume today is a recent book, If All the Seas Were Ink, by Ilana Kurshan. This is a memoir of a woman who began the Daf Yomi cycle, the cycle by which, by learning a page of the Talmud every day, you finish the entire of the Talmud in 7.5 years. In fact, recently there was a worldwide celebration of the completion of that 7.5 year cycle. I was actually at Cambridge with Ilana Kurshan. She was a postgraduate student when I was an undergraduate student, and we saw her occasionally in the Jewish Society and in the synagogue in Cambridge. She writes in this book, and it makes me sad to read it now, that she was rather unhappy and isolated at Cambridge, and I wonder if we did enough to make her feel included and welcomed into the city and into the congregation, the community. She wrote this book because she experienced very great changes in her life. She was married, and her first marriage came to an end. She divorced, and she started learning the Talmud very soon after that divorce, and it follows her as she rebuilds her emotional life and her personal life, eventually leading through a couple of other relationships to a happy second marriage, and she now has a family and is living still in Israel. She talks about her life and her growth and her development and ties it in with the tractate of the Talmud that she's learning at the time. So let me read you an interesting excerpt which I think demonstrates how she combines the Talmudic and also the personal in quite an engaging way. It says in Tractate Yoma, which is a tractate that deals with Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, it talks about the hiding of the Ark of the Covenant and priests who accidentally came upon its resting place when it was not supposed to be found. So, for example, there's a story about two priests who were busy picking worms out of the wood that was used for the sacrificial service. One of them dropped his axe, presumably on the spot where the ark was buried, and immediately a fire broke out and consumed him. And she carries on. The more dramatic the Talmud stories, the more they took on a life of their own. One evening, while washing the floor of my apartment, I noticed that one of the tiles was loose. I had already covered the floor with soapy water and was soaking it up with a rag affixed to a sponger pole, the traditional way to clean the floors in Israel, when I came to that loose tile and trembled. I approached it with trepidation, half expecting fire to come forth and consume me if I put down my bucket of soapy water in the wrong place. So clearly she wasn't just learning something on the page, it was affecting her whole life, certainly the way she was thinking, and it can be sort of interest or amusement, as you will, but a very personal book, a very revealing book, and she's become very famous now in the Jewish world as a writer and as a Talmud learner as a consequence. You can find, I think, all over the internet giving presentations, but a good book to give an insight into a personal life and also the life of learning, the entirety, all of the volumes and tractates of the Talmud. Thanks for joining.